All right, let's dive right in. We're exploring a truly mind-bending idea today, the claim that there's a hidden code, what some are calling a God formula, that underpins all of reality. Think of it like this. We're on a quest to unlock the universe's source code.
I mean, that's a huge question, isn't it? What if everything you see around you, from the farthest stars all the way down to your own consciousness, what if it all operates on one single, elegant underlying principle? Well, proponents of this idea say this isn't science fiction. It's a secret just waiting to be rediscovered.
And what's so fascinating here is that this search is happening on two sort of parallel tracks. On one side, you've got modern researchers looking at solar flares, higher dimensional physics, and even AI for clues. But on the other side, you have mystics and scholars looking for the exact same answers, but they believe they're hidden in the numerical and geometric patterns of the world's most sacred texts, like the Quran.
So, let's start with that first part of the quest, right? The search for a single unifying formula that could, describe everything.
Some researchers, like Robert Edward Grant, they propose that the answer is, well, this surprisingly simple equation. This formula describes a shape called a hyperbola, which, and this is probably not a coincidence, looks a lot like a holy grail. Now, the claim here is profound. They say that along the curve of this one equation, every single fundamental constant of math and physics can be found, all perfectly ordered. A simple key to an infinitely complex universe.
But what if the code isn't a new discovery at all? There's this parallel approach that argues we don't even need a new formula. Why? Because the code has been with us all along, embedded in ancient scriptures, just waiting for us to learn how to read it, not just for the words, but for its hidden numbers and shapes.
And this is where these two paths, the scientific and the mystical, they start to converge. Because for both groups, the language of this universal code seems to be geometry. It's like the visual blueprint of reality itself.
This brings us to the whole concept of sacred geometry. And look, this isn't just about drawing pretty shapes. It's the belief that these fundamental forms, circles, triangles, spirals, are the literal building blocks of existence. One researcher even called them QR codes for the subconscious mind.
Now, those on the scientific path, they point to a pretty recent and dramatic event that they believe was a huge breakthrough. So, back in late 2025, right after a prediction was made, a massive solar flare erupted. This coincided with what they describe as an intense download of new information. And this event, they claim, expanded our known library of fundamental shapes from just 31 to an infinite number.
These new shapes are called harmonic solids, and the idea is that they're visual representations of a mathematical concept you probably remember from school, Pythagorean triples, like a 3, 4, 5 right triangle. But get this, they're being projected into higher dimensional space, revealing these incredibly complex forms that we've just never seen before.
The mystical view, on the other hand, finds the blueprint of creation not in some new download from a solar flare, but in a really ancient and simple pattern, just two overlapping circles. This one foundational shape is seen as the origin of, well, everything.
In some Islamic esoteric traditions, for instance, that first circle symbolizes the Prophet Muhammad. Then a second circle, representing Imam Ali, overlaps it, and their union creates this shape known as the Vesica Pisces. It's from this one single sacred intersection that the entire geometric pattern of creation, what's often called the flower of life, is said to emerge.
Okay, so if geometry is the language, then numbers are the grammar. The key to unlocking the code inside these sacred texts, according to this school of thought, is a system of numerology.
Central to this whole view is the idea that the Quran isn't just a book you read. It's a divine computer. It's seen as this self-contained system that actually poses its own questions and then, through a numerical key, provides its own answers.
So here's how this computer is supposed to work. The opening chapter, Al-Fatiha, has 5 key questions. To find the answer, you identify the position of the key words. So for example, the words for Day of Judgment are the 12th and 13th words in the chapter. You add those numbers together, 12 plus 13, that's 25. Well, that number points you directly to Surah 25, which is said to hold the answer. And proponents claim this system is perfectly consistent for all 5 questions.
So what answers does this divine computer actually give us? Well, the interpretations are often really unexpected. They don't point to literal groups of people, but more to allegories for different paths or states of consciousness.
So when you apply the code, the favored are defined simply as the believers. But those who have earned anger are identified as the poets, which is interpreted as those who weave these beautiful, eloquent, but ultimately empty words that lack real substance. And the misguided? They're found in the chapter of The Spider, symbolizing those who follow a belief system that's as fragile and as temporary as a spider's web.
So we've got these two incredible quests for a code. One through physics, one through scripture. But it really begs the question, right? What's the ultimate point? Why are we trying to decode reality at all?
And here, both the scientific and the mystical paths meet up. They converge on a single purpose. The goal isn't just intellectual curiosity. It's to trigger a fundamental transformation of our own consciousness. It's a process often called ascension, and it's all about elevating yourself to a higher state of being.
The path to this transformation is actually laid out in some pretty clear steps. First, you learn to perceive the hidden geometry that's all around you in reality. That perception, then, allows you to access the information stored within the code, what some traditions call the Akashic Record, kind of a universal library of all knowledge. By integrating this knowledge, you can raise your internal frequency, which leads, ultimately, to ascension.
And the final revelation here is, well, it's staggering. The ultimate state, as it's described in one text, is to reach a point of purification where the individual actually attains a divine-like ability. Not just to perceive reality, but to create it, to literally bring forth a world and expand a universe from their own consciousness.
So at the end of the day, we're left with this really profound question to think about. Are these codes, whether you find them in a physics equation or an ancient scripture, are they a literal description of the universe outside of us, or are they something more intimate, a powerful symbolic map for unlocking the universe that's inside each of us? The quest, it seems, continues.